Okay, you guys, so before we do the area of a triangle, I just want to review the formula for the area of a rectangle, which most of you seem to get. Remember that the area is the inside measure, not the outside like the perimeter. And it's made up of squares. And you need to multiply the length and the width in order to get the area. So in this case, we have a length of 9 units and a width of 4 units. 9 times 4 gives us 36 square units. So your formula is area is equal to the length times the width. You can use this for rectangles, you can use it for squares, and you can use it for those L shapes like we've been working on. And the abbreviation is A equals L times W. And your answer is always in square units. Now the reason we needed to review that is because when we talk about the area of a triangle, there's something that you need to know about triangles. If I look at these two triangles here, when I combine the red and the purplish blue together, what kind of figure is formed? No, if I combine these two, what figure is formed? It's not a square, it's a rectangle. Okay, the length and the width are different. It's a square when the length and the width are the same. Okay, so a rectangle is formed when I have two triangles. Basically, in any rectangle, I can break out triangles. Okay, so this is how we get that formula for the area of a triangle. I could take two like triangles, combine them, and get one rectangle. So what would be the area of this rectangle? 40 what? 40 centimeters what? Squared, okay? Now, if I pull out one of the triangles, I know that it's half of that area. And what would that be? 20. 20 what? Centimeters squared. So I want you to know this. I don't care what kind of triangle they give you. If you take that triangle and get the same amount of space as that triangle and combine it, you get a rectangle. So every single triangle is half of some rectangle. And that is the theory that you need to always know. And if you get that in your mind, you have the formula for a triangle. So instead of calling it the width and the length in a triangle, we call it the height and the base. So if you multiply the height and the base of a triangle and divide it by 2, because remember it's half of a rectangle, that's the area. So it's half of a rectangle. And that's all you kind of need to remember. It's just the base times the height divided by 2. Or some people like to say 1/2 the base times the height. So let's actually figure it out. My rectangle would be length times width. But my triangle is half of it. And you guys already told me the answer. You told me it's 20 centimeters squared, and that's what it is because it's half of it. If I were just to do the red area, or if I was just to do the blue area. So remember, your formula for the triangle is half times the base times the height, whereas the area for the rectangle is length times width. So those are the two areas you need to know. Now, let's see if you guys can apply it. Now, look at this triangle. This is not a nice, clean-cut right triangle like the first one we did, the first two we had in the previous slide. But what I'm telling you is still true. If I took this scalene triangle and broke it up into pieces which are exactly the same size as it, I can make a rectangle. So that's why the formula is true. I can make a rectangle. Look, this would be the big piece of it. These two are the same size. And this would be the little piece of it. These two are the same size. So yeah, I can make a rectangle still. So I can use the same formula for any triangle. It doesn't matter if it's a right triangle, a scalene triangle, an equilateral triangle. I can make a rectangle if I take the same size and piecemeal it. So here's the visual for you. A1 the same as A1. A2 the same as A2. I can still make a rectangle out of the exact same size. I just have to break it up differently. So this formula, area is equal to half the base times the height, stays the same for any triangle. Doesn't matter what kind it is. So let's do some practice. What would the area of this triangle be? 30 centimeters squared. That's right. It'll be half of 60. 10 times 6 is 60. Divided by 2 is 30. 30 centimeters squared. What about this one? Remember, the formula is to take the base times the height and divide it by 2. So tell me what you get. See, this is a right triangle. This is a scalene triangle. So you have to do, it's the same formula though. So you multiplied it and got a base of 6.4. You got 20 what? Well, when you multiplied it, you got 2048, but then you had to divide it by 2. 10.24, and that would be meters squared. 10.24 meters squared. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're dealing with decimals, whole numbers, or fractions. The formula is the same. Take your base times your height and divide it by 2. Just don't forget to divide it by 2 if it's a triangle. Now, tell me what kind of shape this is. It's a combination shape. Do you see a rectangle and a triangle? So do the same thing that we did with the L shapes. Identify the shape, break it into pieces, and then do the areas. After you do the areas, add them together. So for A1, what's the area? A1 is a rectangle. 10 times 12 is 120 meters squared. And then what about the base and the height for area 2? What's the base? What's the height? The base is 4 because we took 16 minus 12. Divided by 2 though. Don't forget to divide by 2. So we had 12 here and 10 here. That's 120. We have 4 here, and this is still 10. The height is still 10. But you got to divide that by 2. Yeah, don't forget the meters squared. So this area ended up being 120. This area ended up being 20. When you add them together, you get 140 meters squared. Very similar to what we did with L shapes with two rectangles. Same method. Except for this combination was a rectangle and a triangle. So the only thing you really got to remember is when you're dealing with a triangle, you have to divide it by 2. Are there any questions about this example? No? Okay. So I'd like to put these up here, and I want you and your table mates to do question number 2 and question number 3. On question number 1, we had a height of 10 and a base of 8. Well, 10 times 8 is 80, but half of 80 is 40. So my answer turned out to be 40 centimeters squared, or 40 square centimeters, however you want to say it. So you guys do the same formula. Take the base times the height divided by 2 and give me the answers to 2 and 3. Work with your table mates. Let me erase this board so you guys can write it on the board. Go ahead and write them over here on the board. All right, so on this top one we've already done. On this one, number 2, you need to take, the height is right here. They tell you what the height is. It's 6.3, and the base is 10.2. Multiply those two and then divide by 2. So you guys got 32.13. That's what I got as well, and that's meters squared. And then here you've got to split it into 2 figures, which Natalia did for us. And then you've got 18 times 12, which is going to be one part of it, which was, how much? Is that a 216? Okay, 216. And then you've got a base times a height here, and that was 42. Oh, you had to divide that by 2. I'm sorry, it was 84, and then we divided by 2. So when we add 42 and 2, wait. What did you do? Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But you did something. Did you forget to divide by 2, Natalia? Where did you get 7 from? Okay, so 25 minus 18 is 7. And 7 times 12 is 84.
I got 7 like when I count for the part.
Yeah.
And I did 25 minus 18. And I got this.
Okay, let me tell you something. You did it right, but let me show you what you did wrong. Come here.
Okay.
Take your finger. Take your finger. 216 plus 4d2 should be 258. I don't know where that number came from. So do you see what you did wrong? Because I was like, where did she get 318 from? I mean, she's got the numbers right there. She did it right. It's the very last step. Yeah, your addition. So 258 is absolutely correct. And okay, so you do the 12 times the 18. Okay, so 12 times 18 was 216 meters squared. That's your rectangle. And the triangle part, you take 25 and subtract 18, so you get 7 for your base. So the base is 7, the height is 12, that's 84, but you have to divide it by 2 because it's a triangle. You get 42. And you got 7. 7 times 12 is 84. And then half of that because it's a triangle. So now you have 42 plus 216. And then when you add those together, that's where you get the 258 meters squared. Okay? All right. Any questions on these? Okay, I think she did really good. She just, that last step, she just, I don't know, wanted to put a little bit more in there. So remember, when we have a triangle, we have to take the base times the height divided by 2. That gives us the area, which is the inside measure of that triangle. And remember, all triangles are half of some rectangle. And we did that proof. Okay? Doesn't matter what kind of triangle. It could be a right triangle. It could be a scalene triangle. It could be an equilateral triangle. If you take that exact same area, you can make a rectangle out of it. And in addition to the triangle area, remember, we have a rectangle area. And what is that? What's the area of a rectangle? Length times width. Okay? And what kind of units am I always going to have? It's always going to be square units, whatever the unit is. Okay? All right, now I want you and your table mates to go to your packet and just start working these problems out, okay? Knock them out now. You got a pre-test and a post-test. You've got the formulas on page 2 and 3, so there shouldn't be any questions. When you get to the combinations, let me know, and I can work some of those with you. I think Teresa had already gotten started on those. But I did give you an example of a combination on page 5. That's an L shape, like we did with the rectangles. Okay, so page 5 has an example of the L shapes if you need to review that again. And we just did a couple of them with a triangle. Okay, so I think this packet's pretty easy. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and work it. There are some yum-yums on page 9 and 10 and 11. And you guys, page 12 is optional, because I think you guys understand this pretty good. So page 12 will be optional if you need more work.